So welcome everyone to one of our Coffeehouse conversations, getting ready for our Christmas Coffeehouse event on Sunday, November 15th. I'm here with Dana Davin-Ward. She's with the Harbor Home, and I remind everyone that we are supporting Harbor Home through the Christmas Coffeehouse, and that we are having it's like a telethon style event on that Sunday from 5 to 6. It's going to be a little tongue-in-cheek, right? But
look.
Okay. So
how beautiful!
You have to tell us what you brought us.
Both of these are Round Mountain Classics with a single shot in each of them because that way they're lower on the caffeine.
Okay.
Round Mountain Classics are going to be lower on carbs just because it's all natural sugars. So we have honey added to it, cinnamon on it, and then you're just getting a smaller drink. So therefore you have less milk, which is less carbs.
Awesome.
Can I take a picture?
Yeah, absolutely.
Where's my phone? We need a picture of this.
We do.
This is beautiful. This reminds me of being in a cafe in Paris when they bring you the latte. And it's always got a little heart. So yes, I'm going to take a picture of this.
Okay, we've got to taste it.
Okay, let's taste it.
It's going to be probably pretty hot, but...
Okay, you ready?
All right.
Oh my word.
Ooh, I definitely taste the cinnamon.
Oh my
The
goodness.
cinnamon is a really good kick to it.
This is ridiculously good. I taste the honey.
Yeah, you do? So thank you all so much for joining us for our coffee hour today. And while we're having our conversation, I would love it if you would engage in the comments, particularly answer this question. What is your favorite ingredient to put in your coffee drink? Share that, and then we will do a drawing from all of the comments that are on the list by 3 o'clock today. And you'll win a special gift here from Round Mountain Coffee. So put your comments in, and it's any comment that you want to share will qualify for that. But definitely tell us what your favorite ingredient is for coffee. So anyway, since I'm new to Conway, I don't know a whole lot about these organizations that we're helping out this year. So I'm just going to ask you a few questions and get to know what your work a little bit more.
Okay.
So how would you describe what your organization does to someone who is completely unfamiliar with your work?
Well, I think everybody's familiar with drug addiction and alcoholism. It touches almost every family in every socioeconomic background. And so we are a faith-based home, a residential program for women of all ages that have struggled with some type of substance abuse, whether it be meth, heroin, pills, or alcohol. And so we have had women from 7 states come through our program.
Wow.
We're in our 6th year. And we've had over 100 women go through the Harbor Home program. To date, we have 85% of our graduates that are clean and sober.
Oh, wow.
Women that are raising their children again, and moms and dads and grandparents that have gotten their children back. And in many cases, adult children that have even gotten their mothers back. So
wow.
It's quite something. Of course, we're faith-based. Everything we do is based on the love of Christ. Many of them come in beaten, broken, battered, abused by others and by themselves. And for some reason, we tend to find that women that come to the Harbor Home, by and large, we have a lot of women that come in that really have no family. Their parents are either completely out of the picture because of addiction in their own lives, or they have been abandoned by family. And in about 6 cases, their parents are both dead. And these are fairly young women that come to us without a family.
Wow.
So it's been really exciting to be able to create a community in Faulkner County that embraces these women and teaches them about the love of Christ, and that He can help them to empower them to overcome the addiction. And one of the things that I think makes us unique is that in so many rehabs, they simply treat the addiction and give you tools to overcome it. But we have found that unless you get to the root cause of why the person became addicted in the first place, and unless you can help walk them through a healing process to allow them to actually feel the feelings that they've been suppressing with drugs and alcohol and just abusive behavior of their own bodies, to allow them to feel those feelings and go through the pain, and go through the tears and the sometimes screaming and pounding their fists. And really give them a safe place to do that. Then we watch them literally transform before our very eyes. And we really try to give them a new identity, because once you realize who Christ is and what he came to do, he came to set the captives free.
Right.
And those who that are free indeed. Then these girls can really embrace a new identity in Christ. And it's the most exciting thing that I've ever gotten to be a part of.
Wow. That's amazing. That's powerfully transformative work, and I love that it speaks to really how significant Christ can be in someone's life.
It's kind of interesting because, I always say that we start out believing by faith in Christ. And so we ask them, but they don't have to come to Christ in our program. It's totally optional. I mean, obviously, God gives us a free will.
Right. And
we give them free will as well.
Right.
But we ask them to simply take a chance to believe, and then from the experience, they go from believing to knowing. And I think that's what every believer has to do. We have to go from just believing that he is to experiencing him to the point that we know that he is.
Right.
And that seems to be where we watch them truly transform. And a lot of our girls, I think we've got 9 or 10 graduates right now that are enrolled in Central Baptist College.
Wow.
In the PACE program. We're partners with Central Baptist because they allow the girls to go to school 1 night a week, still work a job, and to be able to raise their children and get their college degrees.
Awesome.
So that's exciting to see. Some of them are going into the ministry full-time.
Right.
Some of them are going into business administration, a few into psychology. They want to be counselors.
Right.
So it's really exciting to watch not only them get off of drugs and alcohol, but we want them not only to survive, we want them to thrive.
Right.
We want them to think beyond just getting by to what is your passion? Where do you find your power that gets you excited? And what is your purpose in life?
Right.
And we want to help them as they move from phase 1 of our program into phase 2, which is working in college and really, getting actively back involved in the parenting role. We want them to be able to see a future that is beyond just gritting their teeth and white knuckling it and getting by, which most of them have only ever known that.
Yeah. Can you share with me how COVID-19 has impacted your work and those that you serve?
Sure. We're such an active ministry. We're always out into the community. We do fundraisers constantly because we're completely donor supported. We don't get government assistance or government grants. And so because we are faith-based and our girls do live in a church, we're really dependent on the community and to support. So we are typically out doing fundraisers in restaurants, and we're out, at all kinds of events. We hold 4 big events a year ourselves to raise money, and this year we haven't been able to do any of that.
Right.
So I will say that we had a big fundraiser in December last year that thankfully has helped sustain us. But we are definitely in need of support. And we've seen God's hand at work in local businesses that have just come out of the blue and brought us large checks and have come to interview us. There's so many people in this community that own businesses that are they're very driven to help the nonprofits in Faulkner County. And so we've been very blessed to have large corporations, family-owned businesses that have literally just contacted us and said, hey, how can we help you? We want to donate. We want to give you $2,500. We want to give you $1,000.
Nice.
And so, with COVID, we've had to say no to a lot of things. I know there are a lot of people in our community that are throwing caution to the wind. They're still gathering. They're not wearing masks. They're still having events. But my husband and I, who are the ultimate leaders of this ministry, have not felt like that was the wise thing to do. A lot of our supporters are elderly and older and have underlying health conditions, and we felt like if we did hold big events where there were a lot of people gathering, that they would feel obligated to come.
Sure.
And so we've had to make some decisions regarding that. And it's been tough because it's what we love to do, and it keeps people engaged in our ministry. So I will say this, and I posted on Facebook this morning about COVID because I kept reading these posts about people saying how terrible 2020 has been, what a horrible year. And I know it's been a very bad year for people that have lost their jobs. People are suffering. I do know that, and I'm not trying to minimize that. But we have found in 2020, first of all, I always say, don't wish your life away, even the tough times, because there's always somewhere to find joy, and there's always ways to see God's hand at work, even in the hard times. And we have learned at the Harbor Home how to be still and know that He is God, how to allow God and our stillness and not being as busy, how to allow Him to transform us in the quietness, how to trust Him, because I'm a mover and a shaker, and I like to go out in the community and get it done. And in a lot of ways, I feel like my hands have sort of been tied and I've been pulled back. But it's been teaching our girls in the program and teaching us that, God is still in control. God is still alive and well. And whatever things that we go through, the trials, the tribulations, I really believe in the goodness of God. And I think about everybody's wishing for 2021 and beyond, but guys, we don't know what 2021 is going to hold.
True.
And to wish away 2020, I said to my husband yesterday, how do we know that we're not going to look back in 2021 and go, wow, I would love to go back to 2020, but all we had to do was wear a mask, and socially distance to care about the vulnerable, and those that are, that are vulnerable to the illness. And so we're teaching our girls to care more about others than ourselves. I believe in all of this, that it's Christ-like to consider other people. And so in everything with COVID-19, we are learning and teaching and living by example what it means to lay down our preferences, to lay down the things that we would truly love to do, and to really be considerate and kind to those that we love in our community. And I believe it's really translated into a mighty move of God happening at the Harbor Home. We've seen this group that's gone through COVID with us. We have seen them on their knees before God, crying out. We've seen a sweet, sweet spirit of peace in the home, of trust, of love. It's brought our staff closer together. It's brought us all closer to the girls. And honestly, I am thankful for 2020.
Do you have a specific story of transformation, which you've kind of told us a lot about, just generally how transformation happens there?
Well, I want to tell you about a particular woman.
Okay.
There's a young woman named Lexi. Her name was Lexi Holcomb when she came to us. She's gotten married. And when Lexi came to us, she was a multiple-time suicide survivor. She was put on Adderall when she was a little girl. She she had a crazy history. And when she was 15, that man that had adopted her, her real father that she knew as father, died of cancer. And it rocked her world. Her mother went off the deep end and became basically addicted to pills and alcohol just to numb the pain. And Lexi, who had been just a supreme athlete, had a full ride scholarship to college and she was in X-ray school. She really completely spiraled out of control. She lost everything, lost her scholarship. She was in and out of multiple secular rehabs. Nothing worked. When she came to us, she was skin and bone. She was angry. She didn't want to be inside of a church. That's not uncommon. When they see where they're coming and they pull up and it's a church, they're like, what? You're bringing me to a church? But I'll never forget the night. It was a day, actually, that she came to my office and she just began to share her story, and she began to break down. And I remember getting on the floor with her and holding her while she just wept and sobbed and sobbed. And it was a moment that I'll never forget, because it was that moment of the breaking that I know is required for them to be able to be healed. And so the story in Lexi's life is that within a few months, we would find Lexi in the sanctuary, which is the classroom at the Harbor Home. We would find her in there with her Bible teaching the other girls.
Wow.
We would find her sharing the wisdom with these girls, and we saw this incredible transformation come over her, a real just a hunger to learn the Bible and to study. and to share. And so she actually became a Bible teacher. She's in college right now, getting her degree. She's now our Phase 2 program director.
Wow.
She's almost 4 years out of the program, clean and sober, and she is now directing and helping the girls when they move from the first phase of the program, which is a 6 to 7 month phase, where they're in classes and they have no cell phone, no car, just a little bit of contact with family. Then they move into Phase 2, which is in a mobile home behind the church that Centennial Bank donated to us. They live in Phase 2 back there, and Lexi helps them start to navigate stepping out into the real world again. And teaching classes on parenting, on safe boundaries, how to have a safe relationship, financial. We have classes taught on financial responsibility and financial freedom. So it's just exciting to watch this girl who came to the Harbor Home, an absolute mess. And she always says when she speaks, and she's a mighty, incredible speaker, and whenever I can't go out, she goes out and represents the Harbor Home. But she always says, I was not in a rehab. I was in a restoration home. She said, I really had an identity crisis. I didn't know who I was, and I didn't know whose I was.
Right.
But through my experience with God at the Harbor Home, I discovered my true identity and purpose.
Dana, thank you so much for being
for
here.
having me, and thank you for supporting the Harbor Home.
Of course. Yeah, and I'm so glad to learn more about it. I've got lots of ideas now.
I'm excited.
Great.
A new friend.
Yeah.